and so on.
Okay, so that, you said that was how it was set
That was
up.
how it was when I went.
Well, what happened that it's not like that anymore?
You
Okay,
may have-
well, last year again was a redistricting year, so basically all of the organizations had to reorganize. That created an opportunity for the 5th Congressional District Republicans to establish a new constitution. Now, in that new constitution, much of the previous constitution was used as a template, but one of the things that did not survive in the new constitution was the full committee.
Mm-hmm.
The full committee structure has been left aside from the congressional district constitution. And in my view, that has limited the participation of Senate district Republican leadership from having the input that they have had in the past to full committee meetings.
Correct, correct.
So, in other words, the local chapter of the Republican Party has become detached from the leadership of the congressional district.
Right, right. Their opportunity for input has been basically eliminated.
Okay, now when we talk about the executive committee, we have a chair, a vice chair, or a deputy chair, vice chairs. How many people are we talking about on that executive committee? What do you know what we have right now?
Yes, right now we have 4 officers. We have a chair, a deputy chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. Now, the new constitution that was established just last year allowed for the election of 5 vice chairs. At the convention, only 4 were elected. Since the convention, just last fall, or late last summer, the chair appointed 4 additional vice chairs, which needed to be approved by the executive committee, but was approved. So there are, right now, I believe, 8 vice chairs.
So there were supposed to be 5. They now have 8, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and the Constitution allows for the chair to appoint additional vice chairs. But it would seem to me that if there were vice chairs, additional vice chairs going to be elected or appointed, there should be some reason for adding to an executive committee. And I would say that background wasn't actually presented. So the new vice chairs were, and I've talked to a number of them, they were given no formal roles within the organization. They were just added to the executive committee.
Yeah, and to that effect too, or to that point, the reason I think that those guys were appointed was because you had called for a meeting which they were not holding. And I think the executive committee and some BPOU chairs were concerned because of the lack of communication, the lack of meetings. I think they may have been appointed to, and this is theory, but potentially to protect themselves from being voted out of leadership. Is that a fair theory?
Right. I can attest to the fact that there were at least 2 vice chairs, including myself, who were somewhat critical of the operation of the executive committee and were looking to provide some restructuring and were attempting to call a meeting where none were being held.
So they used to meet monthly, then they stopped meeting at all.
Except for the required 2 meetings a year, I believe.
Their bylaws say they have to meet. Well, let me bring this back to you. Do you think bringing back the full committee? Is that something that you want to pursue?
I would definitely like to do that in some form. It may not be the way it was structured. It may be a looser group. They may not be elected, but they may volunteer to represent from each Senate House district within the 5th. What I missed mostly was that group of talent that came from all of those districts.
Right.
And when we pull together and say, hey, have you guys tried this idea? Or, you know, we can pool resources. We have extra volunteers. Do you need help at a parade? Those types of things would be as a result where every candidate then benefited. Right now, without the lack of with the lack of communication, lack of meetings, fundraising, our congressional candidate got none of that support last cycle. So in 2014, Keith Ellison is up again. And I want to build up this organization to empower all the Senate and House districts so that we are there to help with not only Chris Fields, if he chooses to run again, but we have a great candidate for mayor who's running. And if we get these organizations built up to support that, there's no telling what we can do, in addition to the bonus of helping elect and getting some of our House and Senate legislators elected. You know, everybody wins when we're all built up.
Well, that would seem to make sense. I'm kind of scratching my head as to why it's gone off the rails the past few years.
Well, and I just want to bring up, too, the fact that, as an example of the extent to which it has gone off the rails, it was around September 1st. The website for the 5th Congressional District, which had been a very useful and informative tool, went black. I mean, it went down. And there was no real explanation given for that. And when it was revived, when a new website went up, it was totally different and lacked many of the characteristics that people in the 5th District had tended to rely upon for information. Nancy had mentioned that she had established that website several years ago and had maintained it up until last year. And it was through no fault of hers that that site went down. It went down for reasons beyond her control, even though she was very active in attempting to keep that site up.
Correct.
It went black. It must have got to pay the bill.
Well, not forgot, just didn't.
Oh,
Chose not
okay.
to.
Chose
I had
not to.
reminded them since June up until August when it was shut down. And I did go public. Another thing I didn't mention is that I'm a blogger with TrueNorth.com, LookTrueNorth.com. And out of frustration, I didn't know what else to do other than go public and say, this is going on. In addition to the 5th CD issues, there were also similar issues of idle hands in CD4, which Mitch Berg at Shot in the Dark was, publicly talking about as well. And in that congressional district, the full committees were still intact. Out of frustration, they got together and ousted their CD leader, which I think may have come to my theory of why they may have stacked more vice chairs on their side, because they saw that happen, were concerned it may happen there. I'm not sure, I can't attest to it. I went public with my complaints, so now I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm offering to help. I want to rebuild what we had because I could see the potential and the missed opportunities that I want to recapture by getting us all connected again and empowered. It's not about power for me. I could care less. I'm used to being behind the scenes, helping candidates win. You and I helped a great candidate win for mayor on a local level. With your help too, Dennis. And,
congratulations.
And I want to spread the wins. That's all I'm here to do.
You mentioned the local candidates. One of the things too that in our Senate district we focused on is those municipal elections, those committee or commissions that are. I just got appointed to the Planning Commission in Crystal. Somehow.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Oh, Andrew.
Mr. Commissioner, you can refer to me as now.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened a year ago.
No, it wouldn't have. I am filling out an unexpired term, so I'll get interrogated again soon.